Alright, hello and welcome to the 666 subscriber special, and for this monumentous occasion, we are going to be taking a look at a Darklord deck profile today. Now, obviously this is a little bit late for 666 subs. We hit that about like 3 days ago, and since then that was around when I put the Man-Eater Bug Turbo video out. Around 600 subs, I had this plan, this is what I wanted to do, I just didn't have it recorded. And then that video got like 1,000 views, and we gained like 100 or so subs from that. And we kind of blew past 666 when I actually wanted to do this, but I didn't have time to actually get it recorded and stuff until then. But we have it going out now anyway. But anyway, this is my friend Jason's build of Darklords, and he's been playing the deck in real life since it came out, and before that online and everything. So he knows what he's doing with the deck. I've seen him play it many times in real life. I've played against it, and I really respect him building and playing this deck. So I'm basically showing you his exact build today. But anyway, let's get into it. So starting off, we have 3 Darklord Ixchel. The Darklord Ixchel is important because you can discard her and another Darklord card and draw 2 cards. And now, all of the new Darklords share the same secondary effect, which is during either player's turn, you can pay 1,000 life points, then target one Darklord spell or trap card in your graveyard, apply that target's effect, then shuffle that card into the deck. And you can only use the effect once per turn, and you can only special summon it once per turn. Now, all of this new Darklords share that same secondary effect, so I won't be going through that for all of them, but all the new ones do have that. Ixchel is important because she makes your grave live and draws you cards. So say you have Contact in hand, which is basically a monster reborn for Darklords. You know, you ditch this and another one, or ditch this and a trap or something. You bring Ixchel back, then you can use her effect, copy the Contact, bring back something else you discarded, or copy another spell and trap in the grave. So she can really help you get things started. But now, to extend your plays, you're going to be running 3 copies of Darklord Superbia. Its effect is, when this card is special summoned from the graveyard, you can target one fairy-type monster in your graveyard except Darklord Superbia, special summon that target. Now he's important because he lets you run trade-in, and again, he's just another good thing to ditch from hand. Say you ditch him, and then you have another Darklord in grave, you can special him, then that specials the other Darklord. He just gets you another 29 body on field, which is very important. It's kind of the same thing as Blue Eyes. We're playing against this deck, you have to use resources just to get over how big of bodies these monsters actually are. Like say sometimes, like Ixchel is 29 defense, and there have been many times during this deck where, I've been trying to get over something, and then I'm like, oh right, Ixchel's 29 defense, I have to bring something out just to get over that. So that actually really helps out the deck. Next up, we have 2 copies of Darklord Zerato. His effect is, if you have 4 or more dark monsters with different names in your graveyard, you can tribute summon this card by attributing 1 dark monster. Now, essentially, we're really not going to be ever doing that, but it is there. Also, you can send 1 dark monster from your hand to the graveyard, destroy all monsters your opponent controls. Once per turn during the end phase, if this effect was used this turn, destroy this card. So essentially, he can, clear your opponent's board to help push for OTKs or just get rid of any problem cards, but also he does work well for rank 8 plays with Superbia, and as more fodder for trade-in. And just the way I play the deck, that's essentially what I use him more for. But again, you do have the option there to nuke your opponent's field, which is, obviously a very strong thing you can do. Obviously, if he had the effect to copy, he'd be even better, but he doesn't. None of our 8s do, but we are running 5 8s, so that, lets us abuse trade-in, gets Superbia to grave, make our grave live. So having level 8s is definitely very good for the deck. We also have 3 copies of Darklord Nastin. Now, so far I'm playing this deck, I'd say Nastin's my boy. Nastin's probably my favorite one. His effect is, you can discard 2 other Darklord cards, special summon this card from your hand, and then he has the usual effect. So, basically he just makes your grave live and plops himself on the field, so you could, ditch a Contact, or ditch a Darklord and another Darklord spell and trap in your hand, special him, activate a Contact, bring one back, use his effect to copy the spell or trap, or if you get another one in grave, use his effect, copy Contact, use the one you brought back to copy their spell and trap. He gets things going because he gets your grave live and puts himself on the board, and then he's able to use the stuff that you just put in grave for his own effect, which I think is really damn strong. And again, it just gets you started so well that I really like it. We also have 2 copies of Darklord Amdust. Now, I've been told that most people will probably only run this at 1, and that people aren't going to like this, but I agree with my friend Jason on having 2 copies of it. Its effect is you can discard this card in one Darklord card, then target one Darklord card in your graveyard, add it to your hand. Now this, I think, is very good because it can make your grave live and recur resources. So say you have a Darklord trap in hand, you already have a Darklord on field in this. You could use his effect, ditch himself in the trap, add himself back, and then you just have the trap live, or the spell live to use with your Darklord card. It adds recovery to the deck, because there are times where, say like I'll need a contact back from grave. I can use his effect, ditch like himself in a trap, or like say himself in a Superbia, add back a contact, activate the contact, bring back the Superbia. He makes your grave live, he can get things started, and he's recovery. So I definitely like having the 2 of him, because usually with recovery cards I like having 2, and he's a starter and a recovery, so I would definitely say to go with 2. And then we have 2 copies of Vanity's Fiend. Now this, I really don't like running this card, and up until actually playing the deck I was like, I was just always kind of thinking to myself, oh man, why does he have to play Vanity's Fiend, But after actually playing the deck, I agree with it. Like, there are times in this deck where you'll go through a whole bunch of draw power, you'll go through a whole bunch of cards, get some monsters out on board, and then you just won't be able to do anything with them because they're different levels, or this and that. You'll have like 1 trap live and grave and 2 Darklords on field, like a Superbia and an X-Shell. You're like, oh, what do I do from here? And Vanity's Fiend in hand just really helps, because you can just plop him down over the Superbia or something, then you have 1 with like a live trap and gave for some protection. Your opponent can special summon, and this thing can just win you games like crazy. And obviously you're not using your normal summon, so there's no problems with being able to actually summon it. So I still don't like it. Still feel like a piece of shit with it, but I think it's pretty necessary for the deck. So we're gonna run the 2 of it. Also, you can just ditch it off of lore if you really don't like running it, which is what I do most of the time anyway. But moving on from there, we have a lineup of 3 hand traps. We have 2 Ogre and 1 Max C. Now, I was originally playing this like one of his older builds with 5 hand traps, with 2 Ash, 2 Ogre, and 1 Max C. But with how much draw power you have, it's actually 13 draw cards in this deck. With how much draw power you have, and how much you're ditching stuff, you're drawing, you're sending stuff to grave, you're summoning big monsters. Having 5 hand traps just got bricky, because I'd go through all my drawing and stuff, setting up my grave, getting everything ready, and then say word when I have like a contact or something to actually start off my play after I've set everything up, I'd have like 2 Ogres and an Ash. And just, I think 3 seems to be right, because you still see them with how much you're drawing cards, but you're not bricking with them. And my friend Jason, what he says is, this is the lineup for bricky decks, that just the 3 hand traps, and I do agree with that. And out of testing, I found that 3 works a lot better than running any more or any less. Moving on from there, we just have some draw cards. We have 3 copies of Trade-In, we have 3 copies of Lore, we have 3 copies of Desires. It seems excessive, but you need it. Oh yeah, and then we have 1 Upstart down here. And then that with Ixchel is 13 draw cards. And it seems excessive, especially the 3 copies of Desires, but you really need to see it. Like, there have been so many times where I'll be looking at my hand and going, oh, like, I really just, like, I don't know what I can do with this. I can maybe try to, like, I can set a trap and use that on their turn, but Desires just makes it, like, those 2 cards, it really doesn't, you're going to be banishing a lot, but generally you're not going to be banishing everything. The thing you have to worry most about is banishing all your traps, because we only run 3 of them, but you should just be able to search those out, or get one to hand or something before you activate the Desires. You activate the Desires, you get 2 cards, and a lot of the time it lets you start your play. So the draw cards seem excessive, but they are very necessary, it feels like. We also have, for our Darklord spells and traps, we have 3 copies of Banishment of the Darklords. It's essentially a rotor for the deck. You just add 1 Darklord card from your deck to your hand, except itself, and you can only activate 1 per turn. But you can copy all the spells and traps from the grave, so essentially you can use all of these twice per turn. The only thing with copying spells and traps from grave is with, there's one thing with Contact here. Obviously it's a monster reborn, you special it in defense, and it's once per turn. But if you copy Contact off of a Darklord's effect targeting Superbia, Superbia will miss timing and won't be able to activate its effect, because the shuffle back as cost from the Darklords will make Superbia miss timing on his effect. So you actually can't get Superbia's effect off of a copied Contact, but you can get it off a regular Contact anyway, so fuck it. You still get it off 90% of the time anyway. But yeah, so we're running 3 copies of Contact. For some more recovery and some more reborns, we're running 1 Soul Charge. We're running one copy of Twin Twisters just for some backer. Again, we're going to be drawing a shit ton of cards, so we will probably be drawing into this. Then we have one Book of Moon and one Upstart. And then for the final 3 cards, we run a few Darklord traps. We have 2 copies of Darklord Rebellion, which is essentially a Raigeki break. Send one Darklord monster from your hand or face up from your field to the graveyard. Destroy 1 card on the field, and it's once per turn. So essentially, you just ditch this from your hand, get it engrave, activate one of their effects, destroy something in the field, shuffle this back. So, obviously it has the cost of sending one, but generally you're not going to be using that. Generally you're going to be ditching it to grave and then copying it. And same thing with this, which is Darklord Enchantment. Send one Darklord monster from your hand or face up from your field to the graveyard. Take control of one face-up monster your opponent controls until the end phase. So basically what you'll be doing with this is, say you're playing against Blue Eyes, you'll take one of theirs, or you'll overlay with it. Say you're playing against anything, you can take one of theirs, tribute over it. So this lets you out some cards. Also, none of these target. Contact doesn't target either. None of the spells and traps target, which is insane because they work against decks like Cosmo that prevent targeting. Especially with Contact, if they DD Crow, you can just pick something else engrave. So non-targeting is actually another thing that really helps out this deck. Moving on to the X deck, I'm probably just going to go pretty fast through it because it's just some standard higher rank stuff, but we have 1 copy of Dragulus, 1 copy of Big Eye, 1 copy of Flare Metal, and then these are probably what I'm going to be making the most, so we run quite a lot of these. We have our rank 8s, 1 number 15 Gimmick Puppet Giant Grinder, 1 Lancelot, 1 Alsay, 1 Felgrand, 1 Hope Harbinger, 1 Cypher Dragon, and 1 Full Armor Photon Dragon to go into, off of something we steal with the Cypher Dragon here. And then for some 10s, we're running 1 Gustav Max, 1 Dora, and 1 Ravenous Tarantula, which is absolutely fucking insane in this deck. And just to finish things off, we're running the Spire package of Pain Gainer and 7 Sins. Alright, and that's about it for the deck. Let's go get into some of the replays here. Alright, so getting into our first one here, we're up against Dynamist, which obviously, isn't a super great deck, but it can make Bahamut Shark, it can make Infinity, it has a very good card for Scales that acts as kind of like a compulse every turn now, so it's decent. So we'll get into this one, although he does have some interesting choices in here. I wonder if there are any more interesting choices. No, it looks pretty standard besides that. There's Pot of Riches and Bottomless and stuff, but, it's decent to say the least, so let's go ahead. We're going first, so obviously, but I wish I could have gone back actually, but I just saw we had the Ixchel stuff in hand, but as of that moment right there, until we desired, we really weren't doing much, so Desires did help out. Obviously then we can Ixchel and we can trade it, and now we're going to start drawing and going off from there. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Then we get into the Contact, Superbia, bring back Ixchel, then we'll use Nastin, special summon him, copy Contact, bring back Amdusk. I believe, yeah, it's Amdusk. Now here, I think I actually shouldn't have done this. I left myself with 2 Ogres in hand, and without a Contact engrave for any sort of recovery. I think maybe specialing Nastin was okay. That way I had 2 live Darklords. But I don't think I should have used the Contact to bring back Amdusk because it's not doing anything because I only have 1 spell and trap to actually copy in the grave. So I think I should have kept Amdusk in hand and Contact in grave. So I think I actually messed that up there. But we do have a big board he has to get over now. So we'll go ahead and see how he tries to do that. He's going to try to complete his scales. I'm going to go ahead and pop the second scale. And actually, I wasn't worried about him activating the scales and then preventing the targeting or destruction or anything because obviously this doesn't target. So I wasn't worried about that. Again, just another, it comes up where the not targeting is so damn insane. So we're going to go ahead and pen 2. He's going to make a Dark Rebellion, which I think is a good play because we don't, obviously if you look, we don't have any contacts. We don't have anything engraved copy, so we're not getting rid of that. We don't have any ranks. So he would have a giant ass body, although I think he should have copied Superbia's attack. But yeah, he would have had giant ass body to get over, but we're going to go ahead and Ghost Ogre that. He's going to Master Pendulum that. I don't know why he did that. Just in case of Mirror Force, we're only going to put a few in attack. He's actually going to activate Rush and Reborn, getting him 2 monsters on field, but we're just going to go ahead and swing over those anyway, because they just come back, it might as well put some damage on board since they're just going to come back or be there anyway with Pendulums. He's going to go ahead and make a Castell, although I don't know if he misclicked or whatever, but he just flips one face down, which was interesting. And now we got the Contact, so we're just going to go ahead and make Ravenous Tarantula. And obviously, for those of you who don't know, Ravenous Tarantula has an effect that all monsters you control gain attack and defense equal to the difference between your life points and your opponent's. So obviously in Darklord, you're going to be paying 1,000 life points to, use all the Darklord's secondary effects. So there are times where you'll get yourself down to like 2,000 against an opponent who's still at 8,000, and that's an instant 6k boost to all of your monsters. Or, obviously you have big bodies, so say you're going to start pushing for damage, you can do, 3k easily with one attack, and that gives your monsters, a 3k boost. So this card is absolutely insane in the deck. So obviously, as you can see, it's not much right now, and we're going to go ahead and actually make our monsters weaker swinging over that Castell. But then we're going to go ahead and use Superbia and swing for 31, and now all of a sudden all our monsters are boosted by 2,900, so we can just swing for 4,200 easy. And just look at the insane attack of these monsters. So that's kind of showing off how insane Ravenous Tarantula can get, and obviously that's easy game right there. Alright, getting into our second one here, we're up against ABC, and oh god, honest me. Yeah, he has some interesting choices thrown into here, but there's still gold gadgets, silver gadgets, and general ABC stuff, so it's alright to say the least. But obviously you see we have Banishment, we have Contact, we have Allure, and then we have Desire. So obviously with these, we could do Ixchel, we could ditch that, draw 2, we could add something then Allure, but obviously we have the Desires, so he's going first because he's going to normal team pass. So obviously again, here we're like, we really don't have much. I'm going to go ahead and get the Ixchel out of deck first, just so, obviously again, that's really good, so I want to get it out of deck instead of accidentally banishing it. Then we're going to go ahead and Allure, ditch the Vanity's Fiend. We're going to go ahead, Ixchel, ditching another Ixchel, draw 2. Obviously we have Nast and Live, we can do that, we can start copying, so we're already good to go here, but we can Desires just to get a little bit more. With how I searched Ixchel first, you might not want to do that because again we drew into a trade and that's dead now, and I could have saved that, used that to grab Superbia once I have the trade in, activate the trade in, and now I have Superbia live, which again is a very strong play. So I think that was a bit of a mess up there also. But we're going to go ahead into Desires. Then obviously we have a live Nast, and now we can use that, Ixchel, go ahead, copy, search, then we can trade in, then we can trade in again. But we don't have, actually did I have, maybe I could have contacted back on those. I'm not sure if I used both effects, so maybe I'm just stupid here. But we're going to go ahead and swing over that. He's going to special the B. We're going to set Twin Twisters and pass turn, although we do have 2 Ogres, so I'm not super worried. He's going to go ahead and sync for Omega, which is interesting. But we'll just go ahead and Ogre that. He's going to shuffle a few things back. He's going to Dark Hole, which board wipes are the bane of this deck's existence, because it's hard to recover once, you put all your resources into some big monsters and they out them all at once. But we're going to go ahead and copy Rebellion and pop his face down, since we're losing our monsters anyway. And then another thing that you'll notice with this is I'm not doing like stuff during the end phase, usually because even though if you click like mad, Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro really doesn't let you do stuff during the end phase. But there's a lot of times during the end phase where I would be copying Rebellion and then popping some back row or something. But again, it's hard to do on Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro. So we're going to go ahead and draw off turn. We're going to Desires again to try and get stuff going. And there you see is why I really love Amdusk. Is again, he got that Contact back in hand, gets the Superbia back, specials another one, then we can copy the Contact with the one we special back. So Amdusk got everything started again, which is, I really love having 2 of him. So we'll go ahead, we'll Ixchel, we'll copy the Contact, we'll bring back Superbia. Now we have 1 to copy spells and traps in Grave, and a rank 8, which we're going to use to make a Hope Harbinger, just in case, more board wipes or Union Hanger or something. He's going to go ahead and make an Arc, but we have another Ogre for the response. So we're fine. And then he's going to make Buster. He's going to banish the Hope Harbinger. He's not going to swing over the Ixchel, interestingly, which, again, is an interesting play. But here, obviously, we have Ixchel to copy the, what's it called? Hang on. The, Banishment. Yes. I knew that. Why didn't I say it? So, obviously, we're playing with, I forgot to mention this, but we're playing with 2 cards in deck right now. So, obviously, we should have lost already. But with Darklords, you can keep shuffling stuff back to kind of keep yourself alive. So, obviously, we have 1 card in deck, but we can shuffle some back to, so we keep having just at least that 1 card in deck that we need to make it through a turn, which is something interesting about the deck, is you can, Desires twice and then just kind of keep trying to keep, a cycle of, 2 cards in your deck to keep yourself from losing. So we'll go ahead. We didn't draw into the Contact, even though it was one of the 2 cards, so we'll copy the Banishment, search the Contact. We'll go ahead and use the Contact for Superbia. Superbia, bring back the Amdusk, use his effect, copy the Contact for another Superbia. And this I really like. He didn't tag out yet, which is interesting because we're going to a rank 8, which, you know, obviously I don't think there are any that could immediately stop that, besides Lancelot. So he lets us go into a rank 8, which I think is the biggest mistake. He should have tagged out into the pieces and saved himself. So we're going to go into a Lancelot because then we can attack directly and pop this. And if he tries to tag out, you know, Lancelot's immediately going to negate. So there's nothing he can do to stop the Lancelot at this point. So we're going to go ahead, swing direct, go over, pop it. Again, he can't tag out. And then swing for game there. So yeah, it's just interesting that you can play, you know, with just a few cards in deck and kind of keep cycling them back. And again, I think that really shows off that Amdesk is some insane recovery for the deck. Even if, say, I just had a Contact Engrave, again, I had enough live, I could have ditched it, grabbed it back, and gone off from there. So I think this highlight, Amdesk is the MVP. Or this highlight, yes, this replay, Amdesk is the MVP. Come on, brain. Alright, so getting into our last one here, as you can see, we're starting off with an Amdesk, 2 Superbia, an Aston, and an Desires. So we get special an Aston, and that's it. But, he's going first, he's playing BLS, just ignore that, it doesn't matter. So we're going first, we're drawing to Zerato. Again, we still don't have much to do, but we're going to Desires. And, oh, like, look at that, Desires got us, like, obviously we, you know, banished some X-Shells, another Contact, Nastins, Ghost Ogres, we banished all of our Searchers. So, you know, obviously we hit some cards we wanted. But holy shit, we got enough to, like, really get started. So we're going to go ahead, ditch a Zerato and a Superbia, go ahead, use Contact, target Superbia, and then we can make a rank 8 play from here. Obviously, we're going to get hit with the strike, but, you know, at least he doesn't have the strike anymore. It happens. You know, there's nothing you can do about that. So we'll go ahead and use Nastin, get the Trap Engrave, and then add him back. Again, simply just to get the Trap Engrave to set it up so we had something for his turn. Since we didn't have any, we could have added back like a Zerato or something so that we could copy Contact, special back Amdusk, and then use Amdusk to copy the Trap Engrave, but, you know, I decided just to keep him in hand just in case we need some recovery. So we'll go ahead and attack over that. Nastin, obviously he's building up counters, but I have Rebellion Engrave to pop it if he goes to use it, so I'm not worried. Again, end phase there, I probably would have popped it, so I'd be able to use his effect again this turn and already have that gone, but it wouldn't let me do it during the end phase, so it's whatever. So we'll go ahead and use Amdust to get our Contact back, use Contact, Superbia, so we're going to try this again here, and this time it is going to go off, then we'll use Nastin, copy Contact, special back the Amdusk. We'll go ahead, we'll make a Titanic Galaxy because obviously he's playing Rituals, so we're going to want to be stopping spells. He's going to go ahead and try to use Chaos Field or Gateway to Chaos. We're going to go ahead and pop it, and obviously he really just doesn't have anything he can do from there. Alright, so that about does it for our look at Darklords as our 666 subscriber special. I've been waiting a while to do this. I find it much too funny. But anyway, yes, this, again, is my friend Jason's Darklord build, which I really do like and think is very damn good. Obviously, he knows what he's talking about with the deck. He's been playing it forever now. But anyway, this was also a request we got, so, you know, it's good we can do it as a special. We can show off someone else's work, and we can fulfill some subscriber requests. So, this was like a triple, this one had accomplished 3 things. That's a way to say that. I'm going to stop talking now because obviously I can't talk and I'm actually feeling quite lightheaded all of a sudden. But anyway, thank you for watching and I'll see ya later.